Hey, what's up beautiful jellyfish, it's Tracy. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch my video. Today I'm going to be doing Friday's feature cards for you guys. And I wanted to talk to you guys about a couple of cards from Battle for Zendikar along with Oath of the Gatewatch. If you guys have been drafting the set or you're planning on drafting the set or you're, you know, planning on going into standard or whatever, I just wanted to talk to you guys about a couple of cards that I think are really, really cool. And the reason why I'm actually still talking about Battle for Zendikar is because if you draft Oath of the Gatewatch, you are going to be given a Battle for Zendikar pack. So it's still really important to like pay attention to like the cards in there. So I didn't want to talk too much about the cards though, because if you've been keeping up with like really good like draft cards and that, you're probably like sick of hearing it, so I didn't want to talk too much about them, but I just wanted to talk to you guys about a couple of things, a couple of really solid like removal cards basically. So when I played this set, I tried like a bunch of really cool, like I had like some really solid removals, so I wanted to talk to you guys about it. The first card is Roil's Retribution, and this card is just absolutely fantastic. The fact that you get to, it's like, I look at it how it's instant speed, you do 5 damage, but the fact that you get to divide it amongst you choose is just absolutely incredible. I really, really like that a lot. So like you can just divide it amongst you choose, you can do 5 damage all somewhere, which I mean is kind of not really like something that you want to be doing, but if you need to, you have that option, which I really like, and you just get to divide it amongst you choose and kill potentially a bunch of things. So I think this card is just really, really fantastic. Like this is hands down pack one, pick oneable, like absolutely like first pick, like absolutely, it's a great card. Okay, cool. And still going on, this is like, I'm going to be talking all about removal with these cards because there's just some really good ones. And that is Grip of Desolation. And you look at this card and you say like, okay, cool, so it's 6 mana for what it does, but the fact that you get to exile 2 things for 6 mana, it's just pretty cool. The fact that, keep in mind, it is exile, which is very, very important in this set because, I mean, it's just important, I think, in general, because there's a lot of ways where you can bring things back from your graveyard and things like that. So the fact that you get to get rid of a target land. Now, something I think is really interesting with this is you have the flexibility of potentially getting rid of something that they've awakened, or you can cut them off of a color. I've done this with this card before too. I'm like, oh cool, you're running 3 colors. That's something that I've noticed a lot in, I feel like in this set in particular, is that I always find myself going 3 colors. Like I honestly can't think of a time in Oath and in Battle that I haven't gone 3 colors. It's just been something that I just find myself doing. A lot of times it's, you know, 2 colors and then a splash of a third, and I just think the fact that you get to get rid of a land, cut someone off of a color, I think is just really, really important. And the fact that it's exile target creature, so it's anything that you want to get rid of. So Grip of Desolation, hands down, just a really, really great removal card. Love it. And this is kind of sort of removal. It's Roil Spout, and I played with this card. I don't even remember if this was a draft. It was a draft that I don't even remember when I played around with this card. But this card is just really, really good because it's really fantastic if like you're playing and see, you know, I found a lot of times with this set where the games will be very, very close, where like you're drafting and your opponent has like you know, a bunch of creatures and so do you, and you're kind of like, they'll leave like one blocker open or something and they're like, okay, cool, like if they swing out, you know, I'll totally be fine, I have a blocker. But then you like do this, and then if you have enough mana, you can potentially awaken it, and you get a dude and you have extra points of damage and you can swing in, so you can bounce something, which is really, really cool. And it basically just sets them back for a turn, which is really, really fantastic. So, cool. Now we're going to be talking about some cards from Oath. And I was actually going to be talking about a bunch of them, but I kind of saw like the amount of videos that people posted talking about the set, and I didn't really want to like talk too much about it because there's a lot of stuff about it already, but these were a couple of cards that I wanted to talk about. The first is Cyclone Sire. This card is absolutely incredible because the fact that it's like, for 4 mana, you get a 3/4 flyer, which in and of itself is like really good. And by the way, if you want to talk about someone who knows quite a bit about flyers, talk to me because I drafted blue-white flyers so much in Battle, so I know quite a bit about it, and I know like what things are good. So this card is really, really incredible. The fact that when it dies, you get something else out of it, super good. A lot of times it's not super relevant in, you know, the haste part of it is not super relevant, but the fact that you just get another body is just really, really good. So that card's awesome. This card is just... Alright, so if you know me in Magic, you know that Oblivion Ring is like one of my all-time favorite Magic cards, like ever. So anything like Oblivion Ring is just really awesome. So Isolation Zone, for me, is just pack one, pick oneable, absolutely, 100%, because this card is just so good. The fact that enchantment is not going to be super relevant, but the fact that you get to exile a target creature, and it's just so good. And the fact that something that's really, really important that I want to talk about in this card that I think is really interesting with Oath is that a lot of the a lot of the removal spells are commons, and this is absolutely 100% important, because you look at a card like, similar to Isolation Zone, which is Stasis Snare. Now Stasis Snare you could argue is just a better card than Isolation Zone, however, Stasis Snare is uncommon, so you're not going to see as many floating around the table, whereas Isolation Zone, when I played at, I think it was the release weekend when I did Sealed, I actually got 2 Isolation Zones, and I got Royal Retribution, guys. My, like, removal was on point. It was great. Like, that always makes me feel really good, is, like, regardless of, like, how I do, if I have, like, on point removal, I'm like, yes, I'm doing really well. So, yeah, this card is just really, really good. You know, definitely something that I would keep your eyes on for if you're in white. Just keep in mind that it is double white, though. Just keep that in the back of your head. Okay, cool. And now we're going to talk about Gravity Negator, and this card is really, really awesome because it's 3 mana for a 2/3 flyer. Pretty okay. And the fact that you can give other things flying is, like, let me just tell you, like, evasion is amazing, and the fact that you can give things flying is just, like, one of the greatest things that you could do, because a lot of times, like, your opponent just has so much stuff and you don't even care because you just fly right over it. So being able to, like, you know, prioritize flyers in, you know, when you're drafting or whatever is definitely something that I would recommend, because a lot of times people just can't answer. I've, like, killed people so many times with flyers because they cannot answer them. So yeah, cool. Those were just a couple of cards that I want to talk to you guys about from Oath and from Battle. Now I want to talk about Omnath EDH. So I'm super, super excited, you guys, because I just finished my Omnath EDH deck. And when I say finished, I use that loosely. Like, of course I'm going to be, you know, tweaking the deck or whatever, but I did, like, basically I have the deck, I have all the cards, and there's a couple cards that I still want to get for the deck, but I played it last night for the first time, and it was so fun. Oh my goodness. So, like, I'm going to be doing a deck on it, like, in the future when I, you know, when the deck is, like, shaped to my liking more, but I want to talk to you guys about a couple of cards in this deck that I really, really like. And the one card is Seer's Sundial. Now, if you are planning on building an Omnath deck, you have an Omnath deck, something that, you know, you can tend to notice in the deck is you'll probably dump your hand a lot because you generate so much mana in this deck that you're just like, I've got, like, no cards in my hand. So the fact that it's landfall, you pay 2 mana, and you get to draw a card, it's just really, really fantastic. So Seer's Sundial is definitely really cool, definitely a card that I would suggest looking into. And these two cards are very, very similar, but I like them a lot. We have Where Ancients Tread and Warstorm Surge. Let me tell you guys, these cards, you look at them and you're like, man, those cards must not be, like, that good. They're, like, so much mana for what they do. But you keep in mind that you generate so much mana in this deck that, like, a 6 mana enchantment, a 5 mana enchantment is really not anything to you. So the fact that you, every single time you play a land, you make an elemental token with Omnath, and then you have your landfall triggers. Like, the deck has a lot of triggers, I've noticed. Like, that was something that I noticed when I was playing it. So, like, you know, it's definitely something that you have to, like, be conscious of, but, you know, you make a dude, and then the creature enters, so it's like you know, you get to do 5 damage somewhere. It's just really, really good. And Warstorm Surge is really, really good for everything in the deck, because it's, you know, you make anything, and then it just does damage, and the fact that it's creature player is just really, really cool. So if you're thinking of building Omnath, I would definitely recommend those because they're really awesome. Similarly, one of my favorite cards, I think in EDH, I would say, is Impact Tremors. And let's talk about this card, because this card's great. Like, it's so fantastic because it's like, just, again, it's so much triggers in the deck. You have so many ETB creatures that are entering. It's only 1 damage, but it's to each opponent, which is something that's really, really cool. So I like Impact Tremors a lot. This card's really, really cool. So something that's really interesting, if you look at other people's Omnath lists, is what kind of direction do they push the deck in? Now, some people go the more elemental routes where they have more creatures, which is kind of sort of what my deck is doing, but Omnath generates, like, enough tokens on its own so you don't really need to run, like, that many creatures. But a couple that I would really say is Magmaw, and this card is great because this provides a sack outlet for you that if you just have so much mana and nothing to do with it, and you blow up the board and someone else blows up the board, you can sack them, you get a trigger off of Magmaw so you can redirect damage somewhere, and you get triggers with Omnath. So elementals die, guess what happens when elementals die? You get, like, lightning bolt on a stick. It's, like, the greatest thing ever. So Magmaw's super great, and another really awesome synergy in the deck, and a card that I would 100% recommend if you're not even just in this deck, but in EDH decks in general, is Greenwarden of Murasa. This has become one of my all-time favorite Magic cards because it's double Ewit, basically. One of the best cards in Magic, arguably, is Eternal Witness. Why? Because it's a 2/1 body. if it dies, you don't really care because you get to do your thing where you get to bring anything back from your graveyard to your hand, which is just incredible. And the fact that when it dies, you sack it with Magmaw or someone kills it, you're like, oh cool, an elemental dies with Omnath, and so you get Lightning Bolt on a stick, and then you get to get something back from your graveyard to your hand. It's just absolutely incredible. So the fact that you get like double triggers off of like, you know, Rampant Growth or Kodama's Reach or Cultivate or whatever, you get to like do more landfall things, it's just so good. So that's just a really cool synergy in the deck. And the last card I want to talk to you guys about in this video is a card that is very, very specific, I would say, to like this type of EDH deck, but that is Smokebraider, and I would 100% recommend this card if you are, you know, looking into Omnath or an elemental themed deck like Horde of Notions or something like that, because this card is really great because the fact that you get to like, you add 2 mana to your pool of any color, and this is really important because in this deck, you know, you get so much mana, so it's like, it's not really a color-sensitive deck because for Omnath, yeah, you need 2 green and 2 red, but it doesn't really matter. But I do like the fact that it's basically like you pay 2 mana and then every time you can basically like, you know, get, you get 2 mana to your pool, which is just really, really good. So it's like a better version of like, Llanowar Elves or like something like that. It's just a really, really good mana acceleration that I would definitely recommend. This is definitely something that you want to be casting on turn 2. It's just really good. So yeah, guys, that was it. That was it, talking all about Friday's feature cards. Hope you guys enjoy your weekend, and talk to you guys later. Bye.